Okay, welcome everybody to week 5 skill training of the RSC Club. So we've done the first month, so well done. And I just wanted to say that there's actually lots of people ranking in the first month of the RSC Club. So well done all of you that are going to be ranking or have ranked already and also going to be ranking by the end of today. If you're close, you've still got the rest of the day to push on and it's really worth it. Okay, so but then, we've still got 2 months. So, you've done your first month. I know lots of you on some of my calls, we've been talking and, lots of you have been using this month as a kind of getting going month as well. So just remember, you still got 2 months to rank and get there. And we're all rooting for everybody, to make their ranks. So we're really, really excited for what's been going on the last 3 or 4 weeks. So well done everybody. So today's skill training is on excuses that we all give ourselves. All of us are guilty of some kind of excuse, trying to get out of doing something or things we don't want to do, and lots of times it's generally putting off money making activities. Rebecca is going to be talking today about excuses that we all tell ourselves. But first of all, we just want to announce last week's winners. Okay, so drum roll, please. Drum roll. We would just like to congratulate Emma Nunn, who had a class, and she just had one class, I believe, from the email she sent me, and she had 18 people on it. So amazing. Well done to Emma. Okay, you'll be. We need to be. Emma, if you could get in touch and give us a design, or let's chat about the design for your business cards. And then also Lucy Rosa got 9 to an online class. So well done, Lucy. Also, please get in touch. I think you've got my email, nbowles.doterra@gmail.com, and then we'll sort out your business cards. So well done, ladies. There were loads of other people that got loads that that did classes and things like that. So and there were lots of people that actually were very close. So well done.
That's amazing. Well done, guys. Brilliant.
I did just want to give a shout out to Mari Taylor, because Mari actually got 58 people to different classes. However, I wouldn't let her count it because I'm so mean, because it was a class that she did at a festival, or 2 classes she did at festivals. And, so she put herself out there and the organizer said that she could do it. So that's why I said it wouldn't count, because it wasn't as hard a work for her to get that class as it was for maybe Emma or some others. So that's why I said that. However, I will be sending Mari a prize, because what she did there was amazing. But I also would like to say that Mari has been putting stuff on Facebook, and you can see the sampling that she's been doing. And this month, you can see what she's been doing. She went from Premier, and actually she wasn't even Premier the month before, but she went from there to Silver. So she's just hit Silver today, and she's helped one of her builders get to Premier as well. So well done to Mari, and also well done to Rachel for getting into Premier. It's a really massive achievement, and you can see from the work that they've been putting in to achieve that. So well done, guys. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's a bit of motivation for everybody that actually, when you put in good amounts of work, actually it starts to pay off. All right. So well done. So over to Rebecca.
Okay, thanks, baby. That's amazing. Well done, guys, for those classes. And Mari, that is very inspirational. That's incredible. I was blown away when Nathan told me that. So that's really, really good. Well done. So you definitely didn't believe any excuses this month. So you don't really need to listen to this. But most of us do listen to our excuses at some point. And so I thought this would be a really good topic to just kind of discuss. And then I look forward to, after I've talked, we can kind of discuss perhaps some other ideas that you guys have about this. Psychologists place excuse making in the self-handicapping category. That is, it's a behaviour we express that hurts our own performance and motivation. So very interesting. So excuses are only damaging to ourselves, and this has been proven by psychologists. I found this logo. I thought this was hilarious. It cracked me up. I don't think Nike would have been quite as successful if it had used this logo rather than just do it. Just didn't do it. And that's often, if we peel it all away, that's often where it comes down to. So why do we choose to believe these excuses? And there's a huge variety. We're all very creative people and we can come up with lots of excuses. And I've put some in here, but I'm sure there's many more we could come up with together. But why do we choose to believe them then if they're self-handicapping, if they're actually going to affect us in a negative way? Well, this is kind of what I feel, and you might have some different ideas that we can perhaps share. But also looking at what psychologists say as well, this seems to be the bottom line, is as human beings, as much as we believe and we kind of want to succeed, our greatest pull is to usually keep us in an area of comfort. So we're creatures of habit, we hear that all the time. We like our comforts, and it's the same with our emotional comfort place. So wherever we're comfortable, wherever we feel safe, is where we kind of pull ourselves back to. So as we kind of strive to get out of that comfort zone and push out of that area that we're safe, our excuses help to bring us back, and they act to protect us, really. So they help to justify why we're not succeeding, why we're not doing something, because we're also don't want to admit to ourselves that we're not achieving, and we need to have a reason why we're not succeeding. So that's where we use our excuses and come up with these wonderful excuses. A lot of us also self-sabotage to some degree. I've seen this within ourselves and those around me as well. You can see it happening, and it's quite evident. And sometimes it can be on a tiny scale, and sometimes it can be on a grander scale. But as we get sometimes close to success, that's when these self-sabotage signs can come in. Yeah, yep. Nathan's agreeing. So do you recognise any of these? These are just some excuses that I came up with in a few minutes. They just flowed. It's quite easy to think of excuses. But I'm sure there's I could write probably pages of different things that we could all come up with. But these are certainly some big ones. So I'm going to address some of these, not going to go into tons of detail and solve them all. But these are certainly excuses that can stop us in doTERRA and in other parts of our life as well, and succeeding. So one of the big ones, I think, is time. And I want to do another training on prioritising your time with doTERRA. But my suggestion and the challenge this week is to not believe our excuses. So identify your excuses, because sometimes, we're in such a habit of having these excuses that we don't even recognise them. So that's the first trap. But once we recognise them, don't feed them. Let's find solutions. So here's one for time. So when we were in Amsterdam, this diamond leader gave a good presentation, and she included this kind of exercise that she did. And I like this quote: "If you don't take control of your day, it will take control of you." I can totally agree with that. Show evidence of that in my life. It just happens, doesn't it? You're always busy.
I've got a video actually of you.
Yeah, this is something that I can see happens to me all the time. And so I really do need to take control of my day. Otherwise, I'll be so busy doing so many things, but perhaps not the priority activities. So she suggested doing something like this. You pick your kind of 5 or 6. She said 5 to 6 is the best amount of areas in your life that you need to focus on. And these are just the ones I had. I also thought friends, so I have 7 really, but just for this is 6. And then basically just kind of brain dump. So this is also to help relieve pressure in your mind as well, which can build up with all those things to do and all those feelings of where you're being pulled in so many different directions, and you can become quite overwhelmed sometimes. So I think this is really good, just to clear the mind first of all, and to put everything down in your different categories. And she suggested doing this weekly. You might not need to add as much to it each week, but perhaps just reviewing it weekly and putting everything down And then every night before she went to bed, or every morning, whichever suits you best, is to kind of pick the top 3 activities, perhaps from each of those categories. So no categories are being neglected, and you're addressing the priority things in each of those categories. So I thought that was good. And you can see in my house, I've got by lampshades. Okay, we've been in our house for 6 years, and we're still missing 3 lampshades in the house. Nathan probably hasn't noticed.
I haven't noticed.
We still haven't got lampshades in 3 rooms in the house, and that annoys me every time I see them, and I just keep putting it off. But yeah, so putting that down on paper has made me think, yes, I am going to address that, and I can pick that, and it's okay. It's not taking me away from my other things. So it's kind of addressing every area, so you get the balance in your life as well. So that's one solution for time. And then also just working out what your priorities are, really. I'll leave that to you. So here's another one that I hear quite often. I don't know enough people, or perhaps the right type of people. So people that aren't into natural medicine. I say that unless you're living in the jungle somewhere surrounded by animals, I might believe that kind of excuse. But certainly in the UK, where we're populated all around, there's tons of people everywhere we go, then this is not possible. It's not possible at all. It's just you're not going out and meeting these people. So if you don't have anyone yet, then that's okay. Just put that on the end. I don't know enough people yet. Okay, and then you need to come up with a solution of how you can get to know those right type of people. But there is definitely a solution. And
I would say 98% of people do not know enough people to create a successful business out of doTERRA.
Yeah, most people that come into this don't. You're absolutely right. So here's just some ideas I've put up there. I mean, there are many other ways of finding, and that's a whole different training in and of itself. But, you know, we were in that position when we first started, really. We didn't know enough people that were into health. You know, I thought I had lots of friends, but most of them weren't really into doTERRA at the beginning. They're more coming on board now. But just getting out there, you know, to one group and then another group, just meeting people. And then I did lots of little fairs to begin with. Just kind of spoke to people, really. And yeah, like I said, and I went to health food shops, and you see notices there of people doing mindfulness groups, and they're often doing free groups. So you can go along for free and just network. And now we've got like a huge list, haven't we, on our database that we can't keep up with. And there's so many ideas I have of how we can contact them and turn these people into, you know, doTERRA advocates, but I just haven't got time to reach out to them all. So it does build. So you just start with one, and then it will build, and you'll soon have more than you can handle. So here's another one. I'm too shy. And there was actually this lady, this lovely lady, I've forgotten her name. Her name's gone from me, but she's a presidential diamond. Been a presidential diamond for quite a while. So she's got a large team underneath her now, and she's a great leader. And she said, and I do believe I spoke to her afterwards and said, are you really shy? Were you just saying that? But she said in her presentation that, you know, I'm a really shy person, and getting up here is still really scary for her. And she must have done this tons and tons of times now. But yeah, she said, no, she really is very shy. So that could seem like a big excuse and a big reason for not being successful in doTERRA, because it is very much a people business, isn't it? But she did it, and you can overcome whatever personality defect you think you might have. You know, we all have them, and there's different ways of doing this business. And with shy people, you can start off doing your one-on-ones, doing things that are comfortable, and just gradually pushing yourself. You know, so I'm not saying to take massive leaps every day where you're going to feel sick. But just moving yourself forward every day, and just not feeding that excuse, but thinking, I can do this. So whatever it is, turn it around and think, I can do this. I just perhaps can't yet, but I'm going to keep trying. And I love this very famous quote by Henry Ford. You know, if you think you can do a thing, or you think you can't do a thing, you're right. And so let's choose to think we can do the thing. And I personally, you know, I've had this thought so many times throughout this business. Sometimes I seem to feed it a bit more than others. Most times I learn to kind of ignore them. And then as you do it and you ignore that thing, then you disprove it. And that's where the empowerment comes. Because every time you push yourself and you do it and you do something you thought you perhaps couldn't, that's another bit of evidence that you can go, okay, I can do this. Okay, so that thought wasn't real at all. And so the next time you have a thought like that, you can kind of pull back to your bank of where you overcame those thoughts and think, I can do this. It's just thoughts. I'm going to disprove this one as well. And you get a step closer to your goal every time you do that. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. So I love this quote, and I used it in my presentation in Amsterdam, because we all do have fear in us, and Kathy did a brilliant presentation about it. But you can tell when people aren't feeding the fear or giving into their excuses, because they have this inner fire that, you know, is empowering. It empowers everyone they come into contact with, and it's like it's ignited, and it's this such strong desire that's unstoppable. And this is when things that happen with like what Mari's accomplished this month, you know, it's an incredible accomplishment, and we can all do that. We can all do that. It's just having that strong desire and not feeding those excuses, and the momentum just builds and it becomes easier. So actually, the more you hold back and the more you resist and start feeding those excuses, the way harder it is. Whereas if you can just kind of get into that mode of ignoring excuses, having more of the thought pattern of finding solutions rather than dwelling on those excuses, then momentum builds and it just becomes easier. Everything flows and it doesn't feel as hard. It's not such a hard plod, and you enjoy the journey more as well. So here's some more of the excuses that I put up earlier, and just to address them a little bit. So I don't have enough money. You don't need money really for this business. Yes, there's the purchase of the kit at the beginning. You can save up for that. The monthly spend, there are ways around that too. So you can probably find a few people you could sell just the one-off oil. I know we don't encourage that, but if you're really struggling to make that monthly spend, then that's what you could do. Or have a close member of the family that perhaps doesn't need their own account and they can just buy through you for a bit. So that's one. And also just make cuts in other areas. You know, it's having that vision that this 100 PV is going to turn into your $8,000 a month in the future. And so it's definitely worth it. So money really, hasn't got a leg to stand on, actually. I can't work with technology. Well, you've seen us ladies. I mean, I'm very lucky. I do have Nathan, but many of us don't. And we see, you know, Emily as well. She's very open that she doesn't love technology, and we all push through that. So that's definitely not an excuse. I'm not a salesperson. That comes up a lot, and I'm going to just go through the close really quickly because I know that's something lots of people struggle with. Again, I had that issue. You don't have to be salesy at all with doTERRA. Just find your way. And remember, it's all about educating. So don't be salesy. I'm on my own in this business. Okay, so even if that is true, you don't have anybody else at all to help you, then you're not alone there either, because there's quite a few presidential diamonds who did it without partners. So that's not an excuse. Just find solutions. It may take you a little bit longer. But that's certainly not a reason to not succeed. I have bad health. Now that can be quite a serious one, and I don't want to lessen this because I know some of you are probably going through very hard health seasons and times. I can't speak sometimes, can't think of words. But that can also be addressed. So basically you do everything you can, so absolutely everything you can. You know, it can take dramatic changes in diet, and that can be really, really hard. But again, when you want something bad enough, you're willing to do anything to change it. So if it's, you know, eating raw for the rest of your life, I know that sounds horrible, but if that's going to change your health, then try it. You know, so again, it's finding solutions, just trying everything you can, and then working with that. So if your health is so bad that you can't leave the house, let's say, then become the Facebook queen. You know, you can do lots of things these days from your own home. or one-on-ones on the phone or over Zoom. So there are always solutions. Now, one thing I haven't put up here, and it's more of a personal one, isn't it, is the mum guilt thing. How's my time? I've got to stop, haven't I? Okay, a few minutes. Yeah, so it's the mum guilt one, and I know that comes up all the time, and that's a personal one, and that's something I think as mums and dads we need to really kind of constantly evaluate. But we've had some good suggestions from other leaders about this. You know, we can try and involve our children as much as we can with the fun activities, putting stickers on the bottles. Sophia came to one of my classes once, and kind of she really enjoyed handing around the peppermint and wild orange and handing around the chocolates and eating some chocolates, and you know, she enjoyed that, and that's not always going to work. But also, if other people you're meeting have children, then you can bring them along to the wellness consultation, make it like a play date while you do the wellness consultation that's drawn out throughout the 3 hours. You just grab each moment as you can. I've done that a few times. So try and involve them as much as possible, and then, you know, also with your partner, work it out as well. Like when we first started, I mainly worked in the evening. That was the only time I could do it. But using the evenings I had when the children were asleep, and sometime on Saturday when Nathan could look after the girls, I could still get 15, sometimes even 20 hours in. So, you know, it's just giving up perhaps your chill time. So there's usually a way of getting around that as well, but that's more personal. But the idea is to not look at the excuse so much and keep feeding that, but to really look for the solutions, because there will always be a solution, and it may not be the perfect one, but there'll always be a solution.
Could I just mention one?
Yes.
Okay, so one that sometimes you feel it, you know, we felt it, you know, and it's one to fight, is that sometimes you can look at other people. You know, for instance, Mari getting to silver this month, and, you know, some of you might have had this thought, oh, you know, Mari's got a network, or she's got these other things, and yes, she has. But at the same time, she's also worked very hard to get there, and, you know, and looking at those things and going, oh, I can't do that, I'm not that person. But it's not about that, it's looking at more, okay, how can I achieve that? And then going about that in your own way, because everybody is different, and we all achieve this in different ways. And it's about looking at yourself and saying, how do I actually go about and achieve getting to silver? It's not necessarily copying Mari. It might be using some of her examples, using some of what we do, you know, learning from different people. And that can be very, very useful. So I just thought I'd make that point.
Yeah, that's great. And it really is that mental shift. It's just, you know, having that desire and just ignoring those excuses and thinking, I can do this. How can I do this? And it might not be in a month, and that's okay. It could take 3 months, but coming up with your own plan exactly that suits you and your situation. So here's just, you know, an example of the clothes. I just kind of typed what came out of my mouth as I was kind of typing, and this is generally what I say. And I used to feel very salesy and that I couldn't sell the oils, as I think you're mostly probably all aware by now, because I've shared that a few times. But this is what really helped me. I practiced the clothes quite a few times, so it just flowed and it felt very natural. And it just felt like I was telling somebody that this is the best way how to get the oils. So I pretended someone would ask me the question, you know, so how can I get these oils? Which is often what happened when I didn't tell them. They'd be phoning Nathan. So they do want to know at the end of the class how they can get these oils. And if they don't want to buy any oils, that's fine, but at least they know the best way. You know, you don't want people to go and buy them all at retail. That's going to cost them way more money. And you want to make them aware that there's a kit that you can get your membership all included in that kit as well. So it's just literally doing that, sharing it in a way that's just educating, and there's no shame in that at all. You're actually helping them. So I think that's been on long enough, so I won't read it. And then I go on to, explain how to get the starter kits. So it's all included in the cost of the kit. So it's just helping them to make the best decision and just sharing with them what the options are. And then that whole, you know, it could be awkward then to say, oh, you need to give me the form, and you can feel awkward about that. But if you just kind of add that in at the end as well, you know, so if you'd like to purchase some oils tonight, then all you need to do is just fill out this form with your details, and I'll take this form, I'll process your first order, and then you're going to have your own account where you can just order as and when you want to at 25% off retail. So people, I never get the feeling that people feel that salesy. Mm-hmm. So the topic of the theme of the convention this year, the Amsterdam Convention, was one. And I really like that because it really does just start with one. It starts with you, it starts with one thought, it starts with one person, it's all one. And when you look at it like that, it's not overwhelming, it doesn't feel impossible, you really feel like you can do it. So as Nathan was kind of saying, and we touched on, there are many ways of doing this business. It's not just one way. We teach you the basics, your upline teaches you the basics, but then you're free to then adapt it to your own situation and, you know, to get over any feelings that you're not good enough, because, you know, that's not a real feeling, and to prove to yourself that you are good enough by actually just doing it. And then take one day at a time and one task at a time. You know, don't think too much. Have your goal in your head, but then break it down. And, you know, I like this because if you've managed to sample one person, then you can sample 100. You can sample 1,000. You know, just go out and try and do that one person. And the same for teaching that one class. Once you've taught one class, you can do 100 classes, and that will take you all the way to presidential, let's say. And if you can follow up one person, you can follow up with everybody. And if you can train one person and enroll one person, and so on and so forth. So it really does just start with one. So just get out there and have that goal to do the one, and then have that goal again and again and again. And then before you know it, it all becomes much simpler and the momentum's going. And those excuses start to disappear. More excuses will come, but then you learn to address those as well and find solutions. So the challenge then. Challenge this week. We have top 2 excuses. So if you can identify first of all. So perhaps today or at some point when you get a moment, to really go and ponder what your excuses are, what you're telling yourself. You know, there's probably different ones than I came up with, but list all the excuses you're telling yourself and maybe address the kind of the top 3 and really try and work on them this week. And if you, we would love you to share them. So if you feel comfortable sharing them, we'd love to hear about these excuses.
I'd love it if you didn't feel comfortable sharing them, to share them. That'd be great.
So just overcome that one and just push yourself and share it.
Yeah. So so the top 2, the best ones, and we'll pick that overcame an excuse. We'll give you a motivate oil. Okay.
And then we've got a booby prize as well. And the funniest, best excuse that you find yourself giving into. So you've got to catch yourself with that one. Then you will get a Young Living oil, and probably not even a frankincense. You'll probably just get a lemon Young Living oil, a cheapo.
It'll be a great oil.
So that's the booby prize. Okay, that's the end of our one today.